What image comes into your mind first when you hear the word chemistry? To most people, an image of a mad scientist tinkering with their different contraptions and glassware comes to mind first.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Or images of dissections and testing strange drug tests on animals, maybe perhaps from science fiction and wild depictions of cloning or genetic mutations. Curiosity, as well as the fear of the unknown, is what propelled many scientists to look beyond religion or common belief for answers no one else had dared to look for. To this day, new discoveries and new cures are being uncovered every day through modern medical sciences and research institutions. In addition to many of the conceptions there are about medical science, the way many schools teach science differs greatly from the science classes at universities. Universities have separate lab classes for hands-on experience and applications of the concepts explored in class, while high schools only have basic experiments. Growing up, I had a lot of frustrations and confusion around my science classes, and even began to hate it throughout elementary and middle school. Being so young, I loved exploring outdoors and learning how things worked, but understanding it in school was a very different story. This changed once I moved from middle school to high school and experienced a science class with actual hands-on labs relating to the lesson. This showed me that I don't understand concepts instantly like a lot of my peers did. I needed to see it in action in order to discover for myself why the experiments yielded the way they did. Especially being a shy and reserved person, teachers and family members made attempts to bring me out of my shell, but usually to no avail. I was still too scared to ask teachers questions or to be open around any of the friends I did manage to make. This didn't really change until the middle of junior year. I began to feel more comfortable with voicing my ideas and opinions. I was able to give many presentations without losing breath and without feeling like my head was being clouded over to the point where I couldn't see. As senior year began to near closer, I didn't see myself working in a lab at first. I didn't feel like I could handle the pressure of working in a medical research lab where it seemed like this project would be strenuous and would have major repercussions if I should make a mistake. But my predetermined impressions changed after my first day of working. My mentor introduced me to other interns and graduate students who also worked in the WIAC lab, and it was very welcoming, especially to be the youngest person working in the lab. The work I was started on felt rather tedious, but I knew its importance and thought of the big picture while I worked on it, and it became much easier to complete. I discovered that working in this lab could be an escape from the stressful and busy senior life, and it became a place of refuge where I could learn new things with every visit. After months of training and doing simple tasks, my mentor placed me on her project, which changed my days in the lab. The project she was working on was geared towards stroke recovery, where we would induce a stroke in a mouse and observe how the motor movements were affected, and record the data to see if the mouse's condition began to improve or worsen. Later came the cell staining part of the project, where the mouse brains were thinly sliced, and damaged cells were stained using specific antibodies to target the synapses in the brain. Once this process is complete, the brain slices were stained using a light-sensitive antibody to produce a beautiful glowing image of the brain synapses for observation under the microscope. To be involved in a project so important to stroke research and recovery completely changed how I used to feel about science, as well as emerging from my shell as an almost completely new person. I finally began to feel like my input and ideas were valued, even though I have minimal experience working in a neuroscience lab, and my knowledge on the subject was also very basic. It felt like I wasn't just an expendable volunteer. I actually felt like I could fit in somewhere for once. Working in the lab has brought back my childhood interest in understanding how this universe works, and persuaded me to take some steps in a science field in college. Now, while chemistry has never been an easy subject for me, I'll have to work even harder in order to succeed. I have no idea what the future holds for me, but a good place to start is living day by day.